So, Professor Maske, I would like you to come in the front and take over the session. Thank you very much. And for the presenter, there's a little thing here. If I think our technical person can help. Thank you very much.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. After the lunch, we get energy. And after getting the energy, we become lazy. Okay. Please come inside. Yeah, we'll have very interesting discussion within this 1.5 hour. I'm Ramesh Maske, as Mr. Raju already introduced me. And I just remember in the morning when Dr. Adhikari was mentioning, we are all bees. Yes, we are all bees, but bees are important, isn't it? To sustain life on earth. If we don't keep bees, we are already dead. So, bees we need. Please, go ahead, bees. Yeah, and I would like to just initiate this discussion today by just remembering Wendell Berry, who said, we do not inherit the earth from our ancestors, we borrow it from our children. So we have to work for future and work for children. That's how we are talking about all those things. My generation already has seen like how many transitions we have already. And climate change is the recent phenomena. And all we are concerned about the climate change and how to cope, bring down that through mitigation measures or adaptation, which is way easy adaptation rather than mitigation. So I don't want to recap all those background things like Paris Agreement in 2015. After 21 years, what we have done is we got to have Paris Agreement, and that is now we are talking about that in COP21 and then COP27. We have seen all those things. In between, we have pandemic. Due to that, 1 year was delayed. Now, through nationally determined commitment and achieving net zero emission through non-fossil based renewable energy sources by 2045, Nepal is also one of the countries which has put forward that that commitment, and few countries in the world targeted to achieve this by 27, like India. And 1.5 degrees is important, because every fraction of degree of warming may bring catastrophic phenomena, as we have already seen in that one. And so every nation should come back after 5 years with the ambition that how to do that. That means they have to show their commitment, not only commitment, but also show the evidence that these commitments are already becoming fulfilled. And I have not seen in Nepalese case, please give me that support that Nepal is doing something. Maybe very small fraction. This COP26 Glasgow was crucial in 21 to address the role of renewable energy, especially hydropower, and I am a hydropower specialist, solar and wind, and particularly the pump storage. And that my distinguished presenter will present about pump storage also in India, and plans to, and biggest and proven technology to store energy. So in this case, India announced 2 grand targets to increase non-fossil energy capacity by 500 gigawatt and to meet 50% of its energy from renewable energy sources. And that's our neighbor has done that. And the COP27 achievement was in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt, was to pay for the loss and damage. But the question is, who is going to pay for that? From where the money comes? So, in this energy mix and sustainable and resilient energy system lesson for 100% renewable energy, I'm a little bit a skeptic, 100% renewable energy. So I would like to see how our presenter convince us that 100% renewable energy is possible, and our panelists will discuss on that. So I would like to invite first of all, Ms. Taruna Idnani. She is project manager, Tehri, India. Please have a seat. I will give a brief introduction to her later, once everybody is here. Second, I would like to invite Mr. Siddiq Zobair. Zobair is fine. Okay, a sustainable energy expert, Power Division, Ministry of Power, Energy and Mineral Resources, Bangladesh. So, India, Bangladesh. And next, I would like to invite Fatima Khan. Miss Fatima Khan. She is Climate and Energy Program Coordinator, WWF, Pakistan. Please have a seat. And last but not the least, our Navaraj Thakal. He is Deputy Executive Director of Alternative Energy Promotion Center, Nepal, and our key person today to talk about Nepal. Yeah, we put forward the objective of today's discussion. Before that, the big question I would like to here to put forward. Once Barack Obama told that a nation that cannot control its energy sources can't control its future, and that's true. So we have to have that control on resources, particularly the energy resources, so that we can still move our development efforts forward for our children and children and children. Big question is whether we can maintain our commitment through using renewable energy alone, or whether there is still a need for an energy mix for sustainable development. That is what we are going to listen from them. Therefore, main objectives today's discussion is to discuss the importance of RE and energy mix for sustainable and resilient energy system, and to share best practices and lessons from the countries you are presenting here. So the technical presentation would focus on importance of renewable energy and energy mix for sustainable and resilient energy system, renewable energy scenario in global north and the global south, practices and relations from integration and renewable energy in energy system from around the world, share enabling environment policies, financing private sector engagement to scale up renewable energy, share policies and practices from successful countries worldwide to learn from. Now, next is we have few questions that I would like to raise now before calling the presenter. That I put that in the last page, but I think it is necessary because to orient you all what we are going to talk about. This is not a PhD defense or a master's defense or bachelor. Some questions are there. Please have that one, please. What is an energy mix in the present context? And how do you define a sustainable and resilient energy system? Very easy question, yeah? How do you see energy security in the context of climate change and changing geopolitical scenarios? In first session, we have already a little heard about that. Is it possible to achieve 100% renewable energy, or do we still need a business as usual regarding energy security? If everybody closes their eyes, everybody goes for business as usual, I'm sure. What are countries' status and policies plan in renewable energy and energy mix? What lesson can other countries learn from the challenges and experiences of the country in energy transition and energy mix? What are the cost benefits of hydropower and its role in energy transition? Please provide your country's experience. As presented today, the International Energy, going to be present today, International Energy Agency 2021 recommended 4 actions to stabilize 1.5 degree by 2030. And these 4 actions, we will hear that very soon from our presenter. And the last but not the least, what should be the country's pathways to energy mix with 100% renewable? This COP27 has, at the end, the achievement they said that we have to accelerate this 1.5 degrees Celsius to keep, otherwise we cannot achieve our goal. So, the first presenter I would like to invite is Ms. Tarunai Idnani, and she has 9 years of diverse experience in management and execution of projects related to clean energy financing, market mechanism, business plan development, due diligence exercises, and strategy development and assessments, including helping corporates source clean energy by participating in power trading and market mechanisms. She has conducted extensive policy analysis and research, explored low carbon interventions in various national policies, and coordinated the implementation of various decentralized energy projects. Ms. Idnani has worked on the capacity building of South Asia legislators, supporting them in making well-informed, targeted policy interventions in climate change. She worked on India's renewable energy and policies that have supported this journey and outlook for 2030. You can reach, there is also the website from where you can download her work. And now we would like to hear from her today's presentation. Ms. Idnani, the floor is yours. And you have 10 to 15 minutes. And you will be warned after 13 minutes, and 2 minutes you will get the grace. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Maski, for the kind introduction. And thank you to the organizers for providing me the opportunity to present my work and my experiences. Professor Maski, with your kind permission, I would like to just begin my presentation and also my love for Nepal. Just a short story that how this is not my first trip to Kathmandu. Like, I got the opportunity, like it was in official capacity only that I traveled to Nepal, and I extended my trip and I got to see all the nice places in Nepal. And since then, I have become an ambassador of Nepal. So if you ask me, like, which country should you travel, I'll not say India, I'll say Nepal. And before coming here, I represent TERI, which is the Energy and Resources Institute based in Delhi. It is a 5-decade-old institute in the research of climate change and energy. And before coming here, one of my colleagues, he suggested that, you're going to Nepal, you should also see the work that TERI has done in Nepal. So we had like a online our organization portal, and I just searched Nepal, and there was a long list of projects that TERI has conducted, and it was so long, and I could not make the whole list. So I would now like to begin my presentation. So on the energy mix for sustainable and resilient energy systems. So as per the International Energy Agency, the actions on clean energy are important, and we need a massive push for clean energy electrification, renewed focus on energy efficiency, and preventing leaks from fossil fuel operations, and a boost to clean energy innovation is required to keep the doors of 1.5 degree stabilization open. And as per the research and the scenarios developed by IRENA, it says that we almost need to double that. We are currently at 3.1 terawatt globally in terms of the installed capacity. And in terms of target, we have set a target of 5.4 terawatts. But in order to keep that, to be in that 1.5 degrees scenario, we need to double that as well. So that means what is targeted now globally also needs to be doubled. So this makes a case for the business case and a strong case to be within the 1.5 degrees limit. What is required is a massive push to clean energy, electrification, and to implement clean energies globally. And in order to implement it, countries have set nationally determined contributions, and renewable energy forms a large part of, like renewable energy mentions are there in the country's NDCs. And in terms of like almost 183 countries have renewable energy mentions in their NDC targets. Whereas most of the countries, like almost 60%, 70% of the parties have committed on the power side, on the electricity side, to increase their renewables share. And also, the renewables are making a case because 2/3 of the new solar and wind power which is installed globally, the price is almost, they are cheaper than the new thermal coal plants. So renewables are making a case, an economic case to be implemented to be implemented and pushed for. And this graph also shows the amount of targeted renewable share in the electricity mix. So we have almost 12 parties who have committed to 90 to 100% of reaching renewables, and these are mostly from the small island development state nations. So now I come to India's commitments on climate action. India had committed in 2015 in its NDCs, it had committed that it would achieve a 40% of installed capacity from non-fossil fuel sources by 2030. And in 2021 at COP26, India raised its climate ambition, and it had set 5 Panchamrit targets, where it had said that in terms of non-fossil fuel capacity, it would reach to 500 gigawatts, and 50% of its energy from renewable energy would come by 2030. So these are the targets in terms of non-fossil fuel capacity that India had committed at COP26 in Glasgow. And more recently, we have also updated our NDCs to increase our non-fossil fuel share by 50% by 2030. So India presents a very positive and a success case story of renewables in the country. And these are basically backed by the policy ecosystem which has developed, and as well as the private sector investments which have come through. So this graph basically shows how the renewables have grown and the investments in clean energy have accelerated in India. And we all know that that it is also due to the decline in tariffs globally, as well as the technologies have matured, increased developer experience and supply chains, and there is a strong case for renewables now. So we did a study on India's 2030 targets, NDC targets, and we had said that what can India do to achieve these targets by 2030? So if you see in the wind power, there were 2 main instruments that helped India in in accelerating the pace of renewables in the mid-90s. These were basically accelerated depreciation. So this mechanism is basically an instrument where you don't get a financial incentive, but it is used as a tax saving mechanism where your asset value depreciates and you get tax benefits. So the wind energy at the central level, it had a lot of private developers coming in because of the incentives, fiscal and both non-fiscal incentives, which were provided by the government. So Indian industry came forward to have those investment incentives in place, and that is how gave the momentum of increase in wind energy in India. And at the state level, there was a mechanism of banking of power. So if I am an industrial enterprise and I have a captive power plant in the state, I can use the power which I am generated for the enterprise on the basis of bank. Like you have a bank account, saving bank account, you keep the money in it, and you can use it when you need it. So when the money is kept in the bank, it is the bank lends it to the other customers, and then you can withdraw the money. So similarly, this banking mechanism was on the demand basis. Like if I'm an industrial consumer, I can bank my power, but I would have to pay the banking charges to have that power. So it was a mechanism which was attractive for the industrial enterprises, because the industry was getting a higher tariff at the state level from the distribution companies, and when they started implementing and installing their own plants for their enterprises, they were getting a clear benefit. So these were the two mechanisms and the two practices and policies which emerged in India, which actually accelerated the growth of wind sector. Similarly, how the solar sector had emerged, these were basically from the policy push that government had implemented. And initially the price of solar, when it was introduced in 2010, about a decade back, the price was very high. It was approximately 17 rupees per kilowatt, where the solar was then bundled with thermal power plants, which actually helped in decreasing the tariffs for solar. And then the National Solar Mission was launched, which helped in reducing the price, and with more and more economies of scale, how solar had developed, and the tariff decline was observed. So that is how there is a clear correlation on how the declined tariffs with growing experiences, it led to the growth of renewables within India. So now a Central Electricity Authority had projected what are the breakup of the different technologies for achieving this 500 gigawatt capacity. And on the right side, you can see a graph that where it is right now, and by 2030 there needs to be an accelerated push for both solar and wind. So in our recent analysis and research, we had this pathways of achieving India's 2030 decarbonization target. So what we are proposing is on introducing a feed-in tariff in the decentralized mode. Like Michael also explained how feed-in tariffs were successful in Germany in the earlier session today. But we are saying that a feed-in tariff at the village level, if it is introduced is introduced, and this also applies to South Asia, where if we assume that there are 6 lakh villages in India, and there is a potential of 1 megawatt in every village, then by introducing a feed-in tariff in the kilowatt range, we are giving an immune system to the developer to come and invest in the kilowatt range, and which caters to the demand of at the decentralized level, which will also avoid the transmission losses and other losses. And at the same time, the distribution company doesn't have to pay subsidized electricity to the agriculture consumer. So a feed-in tariff for the decentralized mode is what we had argued in our paper, and that should be introduced, and that can really help scale up of renewables in the Indian context as well as in the South Asian context. Then the second is, of course, the increase in the rate of grid-scale storage projects. And for the wind, we had recommended that how banking of the wind power should be continued. Then repowering of old sites, because the wind energy, the implementation of wind energy initially when it had developed, now we have more technology, modern technologies, so the old sites can be repowered. And secondly, to start the development of offshore wind. So once we have the feasibility studies and the pilots, and we are developing the evacuation and transmission systems infrastructure at these sites. So slowly, if we invite bids and we introduce the competitive structure, we'll have offshore wind development in India. Then going forward, like we are increasing the pace of renewables, but we all know that renewables are variable in nature, and we need to stabilize the grid also at the same time. And there are challenges for grid integration and flexibility. So what is required in this decade, in addition to the capacities we are going to increase in renewables, is the scope for large-scale storage. And large-scale storage would actually mean that we are utilizing what we are feeding into the grid. That means we are not relying on the variable nature of the renewables, because as and when globally we are moving towards increasing the pace of renewables, we also have to see the grid integration and the variability is catered to at the same time. So therefore, in this decade, in addition to the capacity additions that we are planning, we should also see the flexibility issues and should be catered.
Ms. Indani, 2 minutes.
Okay.
Please wrap up.
So India has already initiated renewables and storage. And in our paper, we have argued the pump storage plants, because we all know that it is a mature technology, and India has a potential of 96 gigawatt, whereas Nepal also has a lot of potential of pump storage plants. So this technology is, and the efficiency of this technology is almost 80%. But we need to see how we cater to the challenges, how do we mitigate the risks involved, and how do we absorb the risks. So at the level of at the regulatory level, we need to see how do we absorb the grid, and also the financing mechanisms for pump storage plants should be developed. And on the immediate basis, we need to do the feasibility studies and identification of the potential sites, which would form a major part of storage by 2030. Then on concentrated solar thermal plants, this technology is relatively new, and but globally it has been it is gaining traction now because of the falling prices and as the technologies are getting matured. Here in this technology, we use mirrors. Mirrors reflect the sunlight to a tower which has molten salt, which stores the electricity in the form of a thermal energy stored, and it then uses the turbine to generate electricity. And the levelized cost of these solar thermal plants have decreased over the last decade by 68%, and we have a new plant coming up in Dubai. And there has been a research in US for approximately 5 cents per kilowatt of this technology. So we have recommended that this technology is very powerful for not only for India but also in the South Asian context, because if we do also the manufacturing of the mirrors in-house, like at the country level, we'll also create jobs and a domestic manufacturing market, achieving energy security and becoming energy independent. So lastly, battery energy storage systems and hydrogen-based storage. So battery energy storage systems are also being developed, and hydrogen-based storage is at a very nascent stage now, but it would help in the full-scale decarbonization as we move forward and develop hydrogen-based economies post-2030. So then we also need to look at manufacturing at the in-house and how we create manufacturing hubs, and then that would actually help in bringing down the costs of technologies. So the key requisites for success is that we increase our storage capacities and we identify potential site, conduct pre-feasibility studies, and also invite bids. So once we have competitive structure for storage projects, we'll have more projects and we'll be able to integrate the renewables that we are envisaging for 2030 and also achieve our 2030 RE goals. And the financing is a totally a different topic. I need more 15 minutes for financing. So financing can come from a variety of sources, but we certainly need policy support. And we have a discussion paper, a recent discussion paper on our website. So thank you very much. I hope I am on time.
Thank you so much for your presentation and being on time. Though 1 minute already passed. Still, please have a seat. We'll come back to you soon after introducing our panelists. Because of time limitation, I have only one and a half hour, so everything has to be covered, and we have 4 panelists also on board. So I have to combine the question-answer session. The questions targeted to our presenter, I will combine with the panelists also, the discussion, if you allow me. Yes, the next I would like to introduce our distinguished panelist. On my left is Mr. Siddiq Zubair. He was a career bureaucrat who worked with the government of Bangladesh for 35 years. He was actively involved in as a core member in preparation of the National Energy Policy 1996, Gas Sector Master Plan, Coal Policy, Power System Master Plan 2010. Fast forward, it is Energy Efficiency and Conservation Master Plan 2030, Energy Efficiency and Conservation Rules, INDS and NDC roadmap of Bangladesh. There are many. I need to curtail that. Next one is still, hold on. In his long journey in government service, he mostly served the power, energy, and environment sector in different capacities. Finally, he retired as additional secretary and member of the Sustainable and Renewable Energy Development Authority of the Power Division, Ministry of Power, Energy, and Mineral Resources. Mr. Zubair was actively involved as an expert as the focal point of Power Division and implementation of the industry and energy sector. Do you like to present something or just comment on
Not
the presenter?
Present, just comment something.
Okay, thank you. Go on, please.
Because you are a good teacher, question is already out. So I prepare my answer on the basis of that. So far, what I heard from the morning, that the main issue is that how we can achieve the 100% renewable energy, right? In Bangladesh context, this is really challenging because Bangladesh is a developing country. Our economy is
You have
developing.
only 5 minutes, okay?
Only 5 minutes? Yeah. Not 15 minutes. I thought that it is 15
You will
minutes.
get another one.
Thank you very much. So I believe that it is real challenge for Bangladesh to achieve the 100% renewable energy, but so far what we did, that I can present here, and what additional requirement that I can highlight here, because time is only for 5 minutes. So as of today, Bangladesh had a renewable energy policy which was formulated in 2008 with a target of generating 10% of total electricity from renewable energy sources by 2021. So far, we achieved only 3.71%. Now you can ask that what are the difficulties and challenges? So that we can discuss. And that actually represents that what are the challenges for renewable energy to achieve the 100%. It may be in different situation in different countries, but core things are the same, I believe, and which are already discussed. In my discussion, there will not be something very new, but I try to look into in Bangladesh perspective. May not be exactly same as Michael introduced in the morning first session, that they can take care of almost more than 50% of intermittent energy into their grid, because they are the part of the European grid. So it is not that difficult, which is in the Bangladesh, because our national grid is not that large. It can handle only, say, 13,000 megawatt or 14,000 megawatt of electricity. It is not like the European grid. And if we put the intermittent energy there of a significant amount, that it will be really a difficulties that to manage the grid stability. So the storage issue has come. Storage is in Bangladesh context, is important in two respects. One is the grid stability that I mentioned. We have the national grid. So if there is any mismatch between the supply and the demand, then if grid has trip, then whole country will be blackout. So that is a huge problem. Number two, the peak and off-peak difference in Bangladesh is close to 30%, which is a challenge, because the most potential source of renewable energy for Bangladesh is the solar, and it generates in the daytime. Our peak is the evening time. So we need the storage. Storage, a safe, convenient, and cost competitive developed technology of storage is required. We are not blessed like Nepal or even India that we can go for hydro for pump storage. So we need some kind of devices where we can store like batteries, large batteries, and can feed into the grid during the peak hour, as well as round the clock for maintaining the stability of the grid. Then the issue has come that if that is a problem, that do you have the much land for solar PV to install? If solar is the most preferable technology for Bangladesh, for large solar, no, we do not have. We have 180 million people in 55,000 square kilometer of land, which is densely populated. And we need to feed the people with sufficient food. And that's why most of the land are arable land, agricultural land. So where do we put the solar PV? So we choose the solar rooftop. That is the most promising technology now for Bangladesh. And there we introduce the net meter plus model, where they can net meter the generation as well as they can sell into the utilities, and they can get paid by the utilities. So that is one. And also we introduce the OPEX and CAPEX, both the models, so that the industry people, those who have the large roof, by the way, the largest rooftop solar is now in Bangladesh. It is 20 megawatt capacity of a single rooftop. So that is a model that we are introducing, that is the OPEX and CAPEX, as well as the RASCO model as a IPP plant. Not under the net metering, it will be the IPP, like this kind of 5 megawatt, 10 megawatt rooftop solar project, through bundling or may not be through bundling in a single industrial roof. So that sort of thing is we are promoting now, as well as the floating solar. Bangladesh has a lot of water bodies, so we are trying to promote the floating solar technology, which is a proven technology now, and it is cost competitive even compared to the fossil fuel run power station. That is one. But the most challenging part, I have 2 minutes more.
Yeah, I will give you 2 minutes more.
Okay.
But yeah, of course, you will get more time for your comments. Would you be, ask something or comment on our presenters, what she presented? Is there anything you have to say? Of course, Bangladesh, we would like to hear that also.
The Indian model?
Yeah, Indian.
Yeah, of course. You see that the models that we are implementing, most of it is not something we just discovered from Blue Moon. These are the experiences that we gathered from different countries and by our big neighbors. So we replicating most of their models, but through redesigning in our context. Not the same one that we are just introduced. We redesign it, which is acceptable in our culture and our financial abilities and all those things. And wind is a good model that I like to discuss it in detail, that how wind project can be bankable, to make it the bankable and because you know that renewable energy needs a long-term non-recourse financing, especially the large project, and that is sometimes it is difficult for the private sector investors to get access of this concessional financing with long-term non-recourse financing. That is a problem. But by today's discussion, because on renewable energy there will be a lot of discussion for power generation, but the challenge that in Bangladesh we are facing now because of this Ukraine war, as well as after COVID, that in international market the energy price is increased a lot. So we have short of supply of gas in the industries for thermal application.
Okay.
So for Bangladesh at this moment, the large challenge is that how we can ensure the thermal application of renewable energy into the industries. That is a huge challenge, and we are trying to explore the possibilities of using the biomass for thermal application, RDF, for thermal application to ease out the problem that are facing in the industry.
Okay,
yes.
Here I would like to stop you a little bit because I have a few more questions to ask you. Please have your seat, please.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. A big applause. Now then, the next panelist I would like to invite is Ms. Fatima Khan, who played a vital role in revising Pakistan's nationally determined contributions 2021, and she says that by 2030, 60% of overall energy produced in the country will be generated from renewable energy sources, including hydropower. She compiled data about the country's current and future projects that will reduce climate vulnerability and accelerate economic growth. Ms. Khan suggests improving the current situation and smoothly shifting towards RE. Ms. Khan conducted a market analysis by collecting data for energy efficient equipment in Pakistan for Pakistan's cooling action plan. You have a lot of hot climate, right? And provided valuable inputs on energy efficiency standards. She launched science-based target initiative in the corporate sector and guide the company to follow net zero standard to achieve net zero emission. And you also launched Solar Panda program in Pakistan that promotes adapting RE on grid and off-grid communities. And you also handled Green Office program, a certification program that helps companies reduce their carbon footprint. Yeah. Now, I would like to hear your opinion on the presenter already, and also your own experience. And then you'll have another questions also I will ask, and also we will ask from the audience also. Thank you. Go ahead. Do you need a microphone or you want to start?
Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Assalamu alaikum and namaste to all. First of all, thank you so much for organizing this entire session and having a very fruitful discussion. Coming from a country like Pakistan, where we are still developing and learning from the countries whose representatives are present here.
5 minutes, yeah? The initial 5 minutes.
All right. So, like Ms. Taruna, she shared her initiatives and the models that they have implemented in India. Pakistan would definitely like to learn from them, and just like my other colleague, Mr. Siddiq Zubair mentioned, Pakistan would also like to implement them by reinventing the technology and redesigning the initiatives in our context. So if I talk about my experiences regarding NDCs, so initially in 2015, when Pakistan submitted its NDCs, we agreed to reduce 30% of our emissions. But by 2021, since the target of 1.5 degrees was unable to meet, so we raised the ambition to 60% of renewable energy by 2030. And also we launched the National Electric Vehicle Policy as well. That says by 2030, 30% of the passenger vehicles will be converted, and there will be increase to 90% by 2040. And also that 1% import tax will be charged on the electric vehicles electric vehicles, and 0% sales tax will be charged on them. So if I talk about achieving the goals of 100% renewable energy and shifting to that, I believe a country like Pakistan at this stage might not be able to achieve this goal, but by taking the baby steps that we are already doing and we are contributing and trying to achieve our goals, we can make it to that percentage, but after a couple of years. And also, it is important to mention here, since we are talking about the renewable energy, that energy security should have 4 A's. If the energy is meeting all these A's, that says availability, accessibility, acceptability, and affordability. If the energy security is meeting all these A's, then we are safe to go ahead. But at the moment, Pakistan is on the way to achieve all these steps and to move towards renewable energy. Unfortunately, we are not as developed as the other countries we have the representation from here, but we are trying to achieve the goals and trying to reduce our emissions. Also, Pakistan, since has a very low percentage of its share in the global emissions, that is less than 1%. But Pakistan is one of those countries that has been on the list of most affected by climate change impacts, and that we all know that how Pakistan has seen the catastrophic events of climate change. For example, the loss done by the recent floods. So there is a lot that needs to be done in Pakistan, but we are slowly and gradually moving towards our goals. Thank you.
Thank you for keeping the time, but you still have 2 minutes more. I have given 5 minutes. So could you please, give some of the views what already Ms. Idnani presented on, targets set by India, and how Pakistan is going ahead?
Well, to speak about that, like I said before, those targets are quite a little not practical at the moment for Pakistan, but we are on the way to achieve those goals. For example, the things that we are discussing here, that they have already implemented solar stoves, and they have movable floating solar systems. Pakistan does not have it at the moment, but a lot of utility companies in Pakistan are trying to work on that. Another major problem in Pakistan and other developing countries is to receive the funds in order to achieve these goals. So after COP27, as we all know, that a certain fund has been established for the loss and damage done in Pakistan specifically. So Pakistan is totally relying on that at the moment to receive the funds and then to start working on them.
Okay, thank you so much. We will come back to you again.
Right.
A few questions, maybe from audience or from my side. Now I would like to invite to give your expert opinion on the presentation what Ms. Adnani, Mr. Nawraz Dakal has 2 decades of experience in renewable energy, energy efficiency, and climate change. He has a track record across policy and strategy formulation, planning and resource mobilization, program management, organization development, and capacity building in multicultural and multi-stakeholder environments. Mr. Dakal has worked with various national and international development partners to implement multiple programs and projects successfully. He led the accreditation process of the AEPC as direct access entity to Green Climate Fund. He also has closely facilitated the process of Nepal's membership to International Renewable Energy Agency. Mr. Dakal leads a diverse team of 150 plus people, ensuring a smooth transition into a federal setup of Nepal. He is passionate and dedicated to improving people's quality of life through modern, efficient, clean, and sustainable energy solutions, contributing to a resilient, just, and prosperous society. I'm not going to ask how much of carbon foot you have, but would like to hear from you. There are many different questions I have already put forward. I will ask you later. What is your opinion on the presentation first, and then you tell about your situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor, for very comprehensive introduction. Dear fellow panelists and distinguished delegates, actually, coming to what Professor Maske has asked with us to deliver in the form of questions, my job has been made very easy today. From the very beginning of the sessions, we have heard from our secretary, my executive director, and there was an entire presentation on Nepal's pathway. So all has already been said. So that's why my job has been made very easy. Just to, he has asked me to relate with the presentation that was just made as a background presentation for this session. Basically, India being a very big economy, the energy needs of India are also quite high, and we have made a very good sort of energy trade start, so to say. I mean, we have a longer way to go, but in terms of how we have begun, we have really made a good start in terms of the energy trade with India, and looking forward with the high targets that she has presented. India has a huge energy need and we have huge potential, so it's quite complementing. Of course, the solar to hydro relation could be another very interesting story. India has huge missions on solar, and we have huge capacity on hydro. Because of the very fixed time of the day nature of the solar power availability and the 24-hour availability of the hydro, we could really sort of make the good complementation between the two types of energy and made the very good relation with India. One thing, this banking of wind power that she presented sounds quite interesting to me. But there, I had a query. I don't know whether she can answer that later. This what time of the day and what season of the year, because wind has both effects, the time of the day effects as well as the seasonal effects. So how that will be catered when the industrial enterprises are feeding power into the system. For example, they might need huge power during the peak hour of the day, but they are just feeding the power from wind during off peak. They might need power in the season, high season, where their energy sources are scarce, but they might be feeding in the low season when the energy is surplus. So those sort of things might be there. She can share with us later. Especially in terms of this decarbonization target, this is sort of for all the countries, especially because of the requirements of the Paris Agreement. This NDCs are there, and I'm quite happy that Nepal is quite ahead of time in terms of forwarding that NDC, and then our NDC has been appreciated by quite many sort of organizations and partners as a good NDC. But the challenge remains with us is the timely and effective implementation of NDC, so that we really achieve the targets that we have committed through the NDC. This is something we really need to sort of discuss or worry about, and really make good partnership to really make sure that we make our actions towards achieving the targets set under the NDC. That is something we should be emphasizing. The little on this energy transition thing, where are we now? Of course, few data were already presented in the morning, but I just want to supplement. For example, if we compare our data from 2010 and 2022, in 2010, our out of the total energy consumed, 87% was coming from the traditional sources, the biomass, firewood, dried dung, and the agro residue. Whereas in 2022, it has been reduced to 65%. In terms of renewables, the small scale renewables, micro, mini hydro, solar, wind, it was just 0.7% in 2010, but now in 2022, it has crossed 3%. So we are on a good track on those two things. But in the commercial energy, we categorize petroleum, coal, and the grid supplied electricity as a commercial one. The total share was 12.2% in 2010. Now is 32%, which is also good. The commercial one we want to increase. But the main alarming point there is the contribution of LPG increased, or the petroleum increased from 8.2% to now 18.2%, which is 100% imported. And we already heard the stories from the morning that more than 3 billion Nepali rupees is spent in importing that fuel every year.
Okay.
Similarly, contribution of coal is also increased from 1.94 to 9.2%.
Okay.
So there also we really need to make the change. The coal is mainly being consumed in the industrial sector. So that's why the transition into clean energy and the energy efficiency in industrial sector is quite important for us. And in the domestic sector, the clean cooking is one of the key area that we must be hitting. And in the transport, transition from the petroleum to the electric vehicles is the key. So these are some of the key areas that we should be emphasizing in our
I would
case.
like to stop here because
Yes,
you exceeded 1 minute. So
Yeah.
next time you will get only 4 minutes.
Sure.
Of course, your pace of telling things. Of course, I didn't want to stop you here, but I don't see. We did some achievement bringing 85% coal, this firewood to 65%
Yeah.
by using renewable energy or increasing the gas, the LPG. So you need to find that out what we did, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we will come back to that. Now then, if there is one question from online, I got it. I would like to read out that. And I hope that Anna, I don't know, can read this score or something. Skauren. Skauren, okay. Anna Skauren from Germany. Do you hear us? Hello. I would like to read out your question, but if you want to, you can read your question by yourself. Is the microphone on? Anna? Können Sie selber da eine Frage stellen, bitte? Anna Skauren. Können Sie hören mich? Okay. When vielleicht, maybe it's possible she has gone. Now I would like to read out. It's question to you, Ms. Idnani. I think India currently finances its renewable energy deployment mostly through domestic sources. What kind of finance is needed to further finance and scale up renewables? Can you just give the answer? If Anna is there, maybe hearing that. Thank you.
I think yes, she's right that mostly the renewable energy is financed through domestic sources. But yes, the kind of pace of the scale up of renewables that we are looking at, we do have requirements in terms of grid integration and to provide the ancillary services, flexibility, smart grids. So in terms of technologies and the new technologies that we mentioned, so that kind of the financing would be required to scale up and to transition and to increase the storage and flexibility options. So that would enable the transitions, the energy transitions by 2030.
Thank you. I think that is noted down. Now, I would like to continue because we still have, I was calculating it will go 3:45, but I saw the plan, it's only 3:30. So within that 25 minutes, we have to finish all the discussion. If organizer allow me to 15 minutes more, if there is interest, of course, from the audience. Now my next question, of course, last evening I sent all the questions, I think how many questions were there, and you had open exam and you brought this answer. Now there are a few questions which I didn't tell you. You know, when you have already questions already known, you want to say more things. Like now, I have mostly 3-4 questions for you, Mr. Siddiq Zobair, and also the same to you, and also Nauraz, and also Ms. Idnani. Yeah, Mr. Zobair, you have been actively involved in preparing sustainable energy-related laws, rules, regulations in Bangladesh, etc., etc. Please briefly highlight your experience, or he has already started highlighting that one, implementing a renewable energy policy 2008 and so on. One question, just your experience, you had already started, of course. And the second one, what were the success and failure stories? Where is Bangladesh heading towards achieving your targets and Bangladesh target? And what is your takeaway from today's discourse?
Thank you very much.
Three, if not four.
Thank you, Professor. Yeah. Let's start from your last question, that what is the takeaway, right? Takeaway is that everybody is facing challenge to achieve their targets. That is the takeaway. And learning is that we have to overcome that one. Otherwise, we will be nowhere. Because climate is such a thing, it never do the partiality. You know, like you, that you already declared the questions before the sit for exam. So climate is not like that. If we do the mistakes, then they will not forgive us. So that's why the takeaway is that challenge is there, but we have to overcome. And another takeaway, that we cannot overcome alone. we have to work together as a global village. If we do our own, if you like to achieve something with our own, then we never been there where we like to be, where we like to go, what we like to achieve. So let's put hands and move together, share our knowledges to each other, experiences, share the technology, move forward, bring the financing, I don't know from where. I believe those who are the large contributor for this, like Nepal, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, we are very little contributor for this climate change. Very little. In percentage, nowhere, some countries. But there are some countries, there are some economy who are putting large. So they should contribute to bring forward. Otherwise, we will be nowhere, they will be nowhere. Their developed economy will not help them much to overcome this climate challenge. And for Bangladesh, you see that for Bangladesh, we are one of the worst affected country for this climate change, like Pakistan that they are facing now, the last year and also in the previous year. Bangladesh also affecting large cyclones. Also the other countries in this region. But if we have to initiate from our own, if we look for the outside assistance, then it will not come if we cannot act properly by ourselves. So every country have to initiate their own efforts, their own plan and programs. They have to move. Bangladesh, we declared that 40% of our total electricity should come from the renewable energy sources by 2041. And we will reduce the 20% of per GDP energy intensity by 2030. Those are the measures, those are the targets through which we are trying to move forward. But we need the proper technology, we need the proper investment for the country. And that's why we need the proper policy in place, enabling environment for the private sector to participate. And I believe the major challenge is in every country, not in Bangladesh only, or in India, or in USA. The policymakers, the politicians, they are not yet sufficiently convinced and feel safe to move forward with the renewable energy in place of fossil fuel for the taking care of their energy need. So we have to organize this sort of workshop, seminar with evidence to convince them.
Ultimately,
so that
we are
is
bees.
the evidence-based policy should be there.
We are bees. That's why we have
Yeah.
to continue. Yeah, making sounds like. Okay, thank you so much. And what about your gas? You are going to reduce the gas?
Bangladesh we have the indigenous gas. Before 2018, we can sufficiently supply our demand, the natural gas. But from 2018, we started the importing the LNG because our GDP growth was over 8%. Our energy growth demand over 10 to 12%. So it was a huge economic activities was going on. So we started the importing of LNG from 2008, and that is a challenge for now.
When Bangladesh started importing LPG, what Nepal should do then? Okay. Now, I go on sequence. I will ask Dr. Dhakal, Mr. Dhakal. He is also a PhD candidate, so I just started saying Dr. Dhakal. So thank you. Congratulations. Now, next is Fatima. You already started saying something, what I have put forward a question, but I would just read it out. And there will be also time for you, audience, to ask questions. Please prepare your question. Being a part of WWF Pakistan, which facilitated revising NDCs, please share your experience on how the suggestions based on each sector help materialize electric vehicle policy and green future projects. Second one is, please explain briefly what are science-based target initiatives, Solar Panda program, Green Office program, whether these things also be interesting to our countries. Sorry. You have two more. I will give you this question if you forget his. And the third one is, what are the serious concerns concerning climate change faced in your country, and how should renewable energy be promoted to achieve net zero targets, which you already started? And then what are your key takeaways during the development of process of Pakistan's cooling action plan, and how Pakistan is shifting towards RE? From today's discussion, do you think a 100% RE initiative be achievable?
So, all right, I'll start with the last question, which I was discussing earlier as well. At the moment, it is not possible, but we all can learn from the other countries. So, for example, like Iceland, it is completely converted to 100% of renewable energy. So why can't we learn from them? And also, this makes me realize one more thing. Here we are discussing about the renewable energy resources for the generation of energy, but at the same time, we also need to focus on energy efficient devices. So if we are generating clean source of energy, at the same time we need to address the fact that people in our country need to know more that how can they save this energy by shifting towards products or equipments that take up the less amount of energy, so that there is less energy demand, and then eventually that's how we can meet our energy demand as well, and we can move towards the cleaner source of energy. Next question, since you talked about my experiences and how Green Office program and other programs are going to be beneficial for you all, and relating it to my last answer as well. Green Office program is one of the programs that is being promoted in the corporate sector and other institutions, where not the industry, but the workplace, where we are sitting and working for to make the product XYZ products. The people sitting at those workplaces are also responsible for emitting energy emissions. So for example, at the moment we are sitting in this hall and we are consuming different sources of energy through which we are emitting energy at the moment as well, since we are talking about energy generation. So we should be focused more on what we are consuming at the moment. So this program particularly focuses on that and works more towards the behavioral change and behavioral aspect of the people working in different organizations, that how can they move towards sustainable practices and eventually reduce the carbon emissions through their daily footprint generation. And also coming towards the Solar Panda program, this was one of the programs we launched in 2020, right before we hit COVID. Hence, we do not have any output for that, but that program focused mostly on supplying renewable energy resources, particularly solar energy, to the on-grid and off-grid communities. So this was an opportunity for the different corporate sectors to do it themselves in their offices, or maybe do it as a part of the CSR activities in the off-grid areas where people do not have access to the electricity. So I would like to mention this here, that almost 51 million population, that makes around 25 to 27% of the population of Pakistan, does not have access to the electricity. So that's the major concern at the moment. Climate security puts us at the risk. Why? Because Pakistan is at the moment wants to meet the energy demands of the country while taking care of the climate change adaptation and mitigation practices. So it is quite challenging for Pakistan at the moment to move towards these things, but it is very important for them since we are facing different climatic conditions as well. And also, as a takeaway from this entire conference, I learned different initiatives that are being implemented that made me realize that we need to do more research within Pakistan and to learn more from more countries around us, that how we can replicate the same ideas in our context and do more.
Thank you so much. India being the biggest country in
Yes.
our region, of course, we, around India, would like to, learn also from India,
Yes.
the technology they are putting forward and developing. And of course, in this region, in the SARC region, we call it, why can't we have a very, integrated transmission line? India provides 28 kilometers of space towards Bangladesh so that we can put transmission line. We scientists need to come together. They forget about the politicians. They always create barriers, walls. We need to be open, right? Because the world, the earth is one. The mother earth, we have to save. 1.5 degrees Celsius is nothing we can achieve if we come together. If we put barrier, if India puts, the energy embargo to Nepal, what India achieves? A tiny country in that region, and India puts the embargo on energy. That's not good, isn't it? And you are being ambassador already here for this conference. And we will be glad to see you as an ambassador, taking this diplomatic mission to bring India forward to, Gale lag jao bhai. It's enough. We want to grow. We want to save this earth. And we're fighting. We understand each other's language. We understand each other's cultures. And we fight like Russia and Ukraine. They were brothers and sisters. And they are killing each other. And we are talking about energy security all the time. What's going on? We are human beings. We have to save the earth, isn't it? Please,
Yes.
come up. We are in the region. All this. Pakistan is here. India and Pakistan always fight. The cricket is going on. We have jung chal raha hai bhai. What's that? Of course, you enjoy cricket or football, but it's not jung. You're putting the guns on our soldiers. Not that. And Bangladesh, you have a lot of floods, and India is taking all the water away. Farakka Dam. What's that? I don't understand. I'm already over 60. And probably next any time, I may be not here. Now, what I have given to my children? Nothing. Nothing. Okay? Be sensitive. Now, for this, my last question to our distinguished panelist, and then I'll stop here and ask question, allow the audience to ask question. As presented by Ms. Idnani, the International Energy Agency 2021 recommended for action to stabilize 1.5 degrees Celsius by 2030. There are 4 actions, like already I would just like to reiterate: a massive push for clean energy electrification. Massive push. Renewed focus on energy efficiency. Renewed focus. Preventing leaks from fossil fuel operations. Soyuz, a lot of, leakage going on in space. And here also. Boost to clean energy innovation. These are the 4 actions. Now, where does Nepal stand in these actions? The second question, you led the accreditation process of AEPC as direct access entity to Green Climate Fund, and have closely facilitated the process of Nepal's membership to International Renewable Energy Agency. Does this mean Nepal will receive the loss and damage fund by just become a member? From who? Why is it important to become a member of International Renewable Energy Agency? Why? Mr. Jobair already told you don't have to look for others. Why don't you look by ourselves? Maybe our problem, we have to solve our problem by ourselves. There is no, everybody has their own business to do, issues to solve. And next door, I don't care whether I have problem. I should care by myself, isn't it? So, please, your comment.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor. Provoking us a bit and making us a bit emotional also. That really sort of urges the need for energy diplomacy. So we really need to make our efforts more organized, more smooth, so that the diplomacy is focused towards the energy diplomacy, and we can make sort of good bilateral and multilateral partnership among the countries in the region to really have a good network of power. Only through that we can achieve the mission of 100% RE. Of course, we might have more resources. Bangladesh has the less clean resources, as has been discussed. But if we really want to move forward in the mission of 100% RE, we need to work together. We need to collaborate. We need to support each other, and we need to make good partnership environment so that energy generated in one country in the region is serving the other, and vice versa. And as you rightly brought in the discussion that we should not be fighting like Ukraine and Russia, definitely, we all agree. And then we have already heard the impact of that, not only in Europe, all over the world. Coming to those 4 areas that Irina report has identified that you mentioned and she put in her presentation. Actually, 3 of them we are already in good alignment. For example, all our expansion of electrification is based on the clean energy. In Nepal, as of now, 95% of the population already have access to electricity, and that mostly come from the clean energy, hydro or solar, or there's cogeneration plants and like that. We have just 53 megawatt of thermal power, which is only serving some needs of the peak hours. But that also in near future, as we move ahead with the installation of more hydro and solar projects, we will be keeping that aside. That's one. And in terms of the innovation, the last point, the 4th action, we might need to make really the concerted efforts, especially among the 3 professional societies, the academia, the government, and the industry. The government or implementers, they know where is the problem and what is the problem. And that needs to go into the academia. They need to really try to find solutions to that problem. And the found solutions are put into the industry in terms of manufacturing, or in terms of optimizing the business model on that. So this tripartite kind of partnership among the government, academia, and industry is needed if we see from the domestic point of view, in-country point of view. But if we go beyond the borders, then cross-country partnership among the relevant partners. The event like this one would be really helpful to share experiences, learnings, knowledge, and really learn from each other. So these sort of events would be definitely required. But really, talking about this 100% RE as a goal, sometimes it sounds to me like it's quite ambitious goal. There is a saying in Nepali, "Udesya ke linu uri chunu chandra eka." So just to translate, when we make some objective and while flying, we really aim that we are going to touch the moon at the highest level. So this was a saying from one of the poet quite long ago. I think at that time people were yet to conquer the moon. So and that has been realized. So we should be thinking in that way, and for that, collaboration, cooperation, and partnership is a key must. Thank you.
That's the crux. Now it's time for audience to ask question. Please, if you have already prepared, there is one question. Please raise hand. Please provide microphone. there. Please introduce yourself and briefly give your comments if you have, or question directly to our panelists. And
good afternoon. This is Prem Sagar Subedi. I am working with Nepal Renewable Energy Program. I have a question. Distributed renewable energy projects are very important for promoting energy generation mix. In this line, in Nepal, we are also promoting like rooftop solar and encouraging private sector to invest into it. So my question to the colleague from Bangladesh and India, because they have done already in both RESCO and CAPEX model. So what type of incentives they have given to the private sector so that the private sector were encouraged to invest in rooftop solar projects? That is one question. And the second question was, like you also mentioned about like the battery storage projects are being promoted. So what type of tariff structure are there to promote this storage power? Like is this different from the tariff that provides for the regular solar sort of grid-fed solar projects? So what was the differentiation in the tariff structure? These are the two questions for Jubair and also for Taruna. Thank you.
Nani. Okay, there's another question. Yeah, please go ahead. Introduce yourself, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Dara from Cambodia, my village organization. So I have like one suggestion or request, because this workshop is very important to discuss about renewable energy. But we look at the country that produce a lot of carbon emission per capita is China, United States. And I think it's important to also invite those giant countries to discuss in this kind of workshop. That another one is the technology transfer. Like here we have some advanced Asia country like India, Bangladesh that have know-how and knowledge on technology producing renewable energy technology, and we should transfer those kind of knowledge to like Laos, Cambodia that hold low technology skill, because when you look at the solar panel that produced by China, it's now become cheaper, and if Cambodia people can make our own solar, so it can solve many problems of energy energy dependency in a remote area. Yeah, that message. Thank you.
Thank you. There was no direct question. Your comments. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, please, lady. Please.
Hello, I am Dishin from Bhutan. Basically, my question is to all of the panelists here, because we are all in the same region and we have similar energy scenarios and similar plans and projects. My question to the panelists is, when we proceed with RE projects, basically funding is one of the issues, especially coming from a developing country. Resources is something that is really limited. So do you have a mechanism set up on how to fund these projects, either within your government's budget or having to pool the fund from the donor agencies? So if you could speak about how the projects are implemented, RE projects or EE projects are implemented in your country, and how do you manage that fund, and who is looking after the fund, or is it just a project-based fund that you pool? So if you could briefly highlight on so that it's a good reference for other developing countries as well. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Are there any? Yes, please, from friends from Africa. Your microphone is...
Hello?
Yeah.
Thank you. My name is Dilis Ndivaisa from Ecological Christian Organization. Mine are two. One is to India. What is India's approach towards regulation in the solar industry? Then for Nepal, how is the government of Nepal implementing the LPG for cooking? Is LPG given out of a subsidy, or is it given freely?
LPG. Yeah, please.
Yes, thank you very much. Mine is to Nepal. Are there any waste to energy systems that are being implemented? You said Nepal is also relying on agriculture for economic development. So I'd like to know whether you have waste to energy systems and how are they operating? Thank you.
Waste to energy. If there are no any more questions, yes, please. 2 hands raised, of course. Good. Organizer gave me only within 5 minutes I have to finish, but I paid 5+ here. That means 5 minutes more. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Khemraj Bhandari. I am working at AEPC for the German government-funded project, and we are working for on-grid and off-grid solar projects. We have also a grid-connected policy. So my question is for the senior expert from Bangladesh. As you have mentioned that you have a policy to inject up to 40% intermittent source of energy like solar and wind. So to compare with our policy was for 50% before. Now it came down to 10% in last few years. So maybe it will come again in the lower side. So we are afraid that how we could promote the on-grid solar or intermittent source of energy, because our government white paper also states that we are going for the energy mix, but there are some issues, limitations to do energy mix in the grid system. So just wanted to understand how it is handled in Bangladesh and what is the logic. Why don't you go for 30% or 50%? Thank you.
Thank you so much. I would like to say students are also participating in this conference. Are there any questions from student sides? There, budding policymakers are there. Maybe they have some questions or queries. And there was one lady raising the hand here, please. And if students are not coming up, this would be the last but not the least question. And we will ask the panelists to answer, and we'll close the session. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Avril de Torres from the Philippines. I just wanted to ask the panelists, how are your countries rethinking, if at all, the role of liquefied natural gas in your energy mix? My organization is monitoring the expansion of natural gas projects in Southeast Asia, and we've been looking as well how other countries in Asia are impacted by the Russia-Ukraine war. And we've seen how in Pakistan and in Bangladesh there have been power outages because your countries are finding it difficult to outbid European countries in terms of LNG supply. And then for India, there has been a glut because it's too expensive and consumers refuse to purchase expensive LNG.
Okay, so now I turn towards the panelists, and yeah, please, you give.
Thank you very much.
1 minute, everybody.
Sure. Thank you very much for very good questions. I have at least 4 questions that I have a quick short answer. First one from Bhutan, the funding issue and the funding mechanisms. Yes, AEPC has tried different kinds of funding mechanisms. Currently, we have one funding mechanism called Central Renewable Energy Fund, through which we channelize subsidy, credit, and viability gap funding. So it might be, the detailed answers might not be possible. You can check the details from our website, and especially for the viability gap funding, if you search Sustainable Energy Challenge Fund in the Google, then you will find a website where this call for applications and everything are there, and through which you can get the details, but we can talk bilaterally also. 2 colleagues from Uganda, they asked whether Nepal is promoting LPG for cooking. No, we are not promoting, but LPG is getting its own way because it's a commercial commodity. We rather want to replace the penetration of LPG through electricity and other clean cooking solutions. Waste to energy, yes, in the recent years we have been giving quite good emphasis for the development of waste to energy projects. waste management is mainly the authority or the mandate of the local government. So that's why we are partnering with the local governments and the private project developers to set up the big waste to energy plants and produce energy as well as the organic fertilizer from those plants. We can talk bilaterally for the details. And the question from the colleagues from Philippines, the role of LNG. Yes, we are seeing that LNG is going to be the future fuel, which the commodity that will come into the energy market like the current petroleums. But we don't have any policy yet to see it. Maybe in future we need to really take care of that. Thank you.
Yeah. Mr. Jobo?
Thank you. I think I have 5 questions forwarded to me. One is the incentive. 1 minute, yeah. That is the incentive for distributed energy like solar rooftop. Yes, there are some incentives, and some financial as well as some fiscal incentive. So financial incentive is concessional financing is available there through the central bank. The commercial banks are facilitating those, and fiscal incentives are tax incentives are there, which actually attract and promote these distributed promotion of distributed energy. I think from Bhutan there is a question that whether funding is available. Yes, funding is available. We call the green financing, green project development financing window is there, where through the budgetary allocation government put the money there, but that is not good enough to take care of. So we are also have a bilateral discussion and gathering the funding from the development partners like the World Bank, Asian Development Bank, KfW, something like that, for implementing the project. Also, we have some project get access to the GCF funding, through which we are also accessing those funds. There is a question from the Nepal that our target to integrate 40% of the renewable energy, whether this is possible, how it will be possible, and then what is the logic behind it. And another question from Philippines, that whether there is any challenge Bangladesh is facing for natural gas supply due to this present international scenario, energy market scenario. I like to address these 2 questions together. That yes, Bangladesh, you know that I already mentioned that we had the indigenous natural gas supply system, but which is not good enough now, because once upon a time 98% of our electricity was generating from the natural gas. Now it's come down to 44.6%. So, and then it is taken, the other percentage are taken care of by the mostly by the furnace oil as well as the diesel. Some are coal and some are renewable energy. Renewable energy increases from 0.7% to 3.71% in percentage, but in absolute figure this is huge, close to 1,000 megawatt. Now that for the present energy scenario, international market, Bangladesh, we are suffering. We are suffering because we start to import the LNG from international market in 2018, and 15% of our requirement we are importing from the international market, and Bangladesh stop it now because LNG price gone up.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Now, do you have answer? She has. Please, Ms. Idnani.
Thank you. On the question of the battery
30 seconds.
Okay, storage, we had the competitive bidding route, so that is helping scale up the renewables and the storage and around the clock power. And on the question of financing, I would say that we need an enabling ecosystem so that we can enable the financing aspect as well from the domestic sources as well as from the international community.
Thank you. If you have any answer to the questions, Ms. Fatima, if you would like to say something before going. And now I stand up saying two more sentences and then finish.
Yes.
Okay, please go ahead.
Just one comment. Since we had so much to learn from India, we would like to connect with you in future as well, so that not just Pakistan and all the countries who are present here can learn from you. So it's just the media that shows people from Pakistan and India are always fighting, but in real, we would like to love each other, and we would love to learn from each other. So that's what we are looking for.
Thank you so much. That's what I wanted to hear. Now, last but not least, I had to summarize, but we spent 1.5 hours or more than that already. So there is no need for my summary, but just take away sentence which I would like to hear, bring from Donella Meadows. Probably you know her, no? The Limits to Growth and Thinking in System. She wrote this book. She said, the scarcest resource is not oil, metals, clean air, capital, labor, or technology. It is our willingness to listen to each other and learn from each other and to seek the truth than seek to be right. We talk about human rights and so, but it's truth we have to seek. And in Sustainable Development Goal, the last goal, Goal 17, why you and people put this Goal 17 at the last? It should have been the first one. Without that, what is that 17th goal? Collaboration, cooperation, partnership. That should have been the first goal that to achieve. Otherwise, no zero hunger, no education, no health, nothing can be achieved without having cooperation, collaboration. And that should be the first goal. And that is the takeaway. You mentioned that several times. All our panelists, distinguished panelists, mentioned that. And India, of course, we are looking forward. The biggest and the largest country in this region. Please, as your ambassador in future to Nepal, think about it. It's not the politics. You cannot take anything from this small country, but you can take a lot of things from this beautiful country. Thank you so much. And thank you for providing 15 minutes more, because I already calculated that I will complete. Thank you. And thank you, audience, very nicely and energetically involving in this panel discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Maske and the panelists. A big round of applause for them. Of course, you want to take a photograph of the panelists. If you understand here. While the photograph is being taken, I just have a few announcements, in fact, for the next session. This is the time for a coffee break, a tea break. But I have a little proposal for you to go forward. In fact, what I'm going to propose is that we had a plan to close the session at 6, but we might do it a bit early. Thank you. For the next session, what we are going to do is, in fact, we got quite a lot of requests to have this session. So, please, I think you like this one. In order to not have those sessions, really, we're unable to have that as parallel individual sessions. What we decided to do was try to have a mix of parallel session and a group session. So we have, in fact, the next technical session 3 is, we have a little different approach. What we are going to do is, we are going to have a parallel session, or let's say a breakout session, for 3 different themes. And those 3 themes will be integration of renewable energy, decentralized off-grid technologies will be group 1. The second will be clean and electric cooking, household energy usage will be second. The third one will be transport decarbonization, energy efficiency. That will be third one. So in this what we're going to do is the first group is going to sit in the front here. We're going to arrange this table around. The second group is going to go to the room just next to where posters are being put up. Just there's a small room called Senate. Will be there. The third group will be the transport, which will be again at the back of this room. We'll make that arrangement. While you're having your coffee or tea, we will make sure that we take that. However, I also want to encourage that because if you want to save time, we also might want to bring our tea, coffee together and then have a group discussion. This is precisely for the reason that this is about learning, sharing, having a dialogue, networking, trying to know each other and have more interaction. And this setup is giving, I think there is very, not so much interaction in a way to say that, it has some breaks in there. So in order to be more inclusive, what we're going to do is we're going to break this into 3 groups and have more discussions and really share. Also know each other, network, and build our, as Fatima earlier said very nicely, that we'd like to know each other more about the work and things and probably discuss informally. So that's what the the next session will lead to us. And immediately after the session, if your group does well with completing the group discussion in fairly quickly, then there's a poster session where our Pradeep from PRC will be leading. We'll just be outside, even though where you registered this morning. Just in front of that, we have put up our posters there. So you have a chance to really look into the posters, also ask questions. The poster presenters will be present there, so for you to really explain that and then really have the discussion going there as well. So you'll see this 3 moderators for the first 3, the breakout sessions now. For group 1, it will be Kushal Gurung from Wind Power Nepal. He's the founder and CEO of Wind Power. He's at the back. Probably you can see his photo in the first there. The second is Pooja Sharma, who is the thematic lead in practical action. She will be leading the second theme. And the third one will be Prasant Kanal, who will be leading us with the transportation. His photo is here. But he will be, the third one, Prasant, will be at the back of the room. First one, Kusal, will be leading here. And we're expecting that this group might be quite a big one. And the second is Pooja Sharma will be leading in the room Senate. So that is the announcement that I have for now. If there's any confusion, of course, we'll be here to explain that process forward. But as I said, rather than just having one individual session, we wanted to do it parallel so people have more opportunity to interact and discuss and learn and know each other. In fact, we are also supposed to give you a little souvenir, actually. We have a little very nice, locally made, laptop bag. But unfortunately, we can't give you right today. So tomorrow morning, the first hour, you'll get the bag. So that's what our colleagues have really said. So we look forward to your presence in tomorrow morning. But I don't want to kick you out right away. But we have a third technical session now. So with that, let's break out for tea, coffee. And as I said, we'll just make the arrangement. And with the tea and coffee, you can probably come back into this group, and we will have our sessions there. Is that clear or good? Thank you. Thank you very much, and have a fruitful discussion.